And then welcome everyone and say officially good morning to everyone and thank you for being here. So we've got a little bit of new territory to cover today. As you can see on the screen, we're going to be talking about digital citizenship and think about what it is. And then we'll talk about sort of how the assignments look for this topic. And I'm going to mention, I'm just going to give a FYI about files and file ownership. And then just a little reminder, I put that on the screen for myself, just to remind everybody that during the break, I will have, I'll say, limited availability. I'm not going to be like, in Antarctica, but I will be in Kamloops, British Columbia, visiting my daughter. So I will not be checking my devices as often as I normally do. So if there is anything that comes up that you need help with, just bear with me and I'll check it periodically during the time that I'm there. But I won't have it like attached to my hip like I normally do when classes are in. Okay. So any question before I get rolling about everything here this morning and get out of control? Is there anybody got questions, comments, thoughts, concerns, ideas? Winning lotto numbers? No? Yes? No? No? Everybody's good? Okay. All right. So then what I am going to do is just talk about file ownership for a second. This actually, now that I think about it, I should probably mention it when we do the file systems assignment. But one of the things, if you have not realized yet, is that when in Google Classroom, when you submit your assignment to me for grading, for marking, what happens in Google Classroom, and it's actually fairly clever if you think about it, is that you actually lose ownership of that file. So we've already talked about file ownership and how you determine who owns the file and all that jazz. When you submit it to Google Classroom, what happens is I become the owner of let's use your lesson plan template as an example. I become temporary owner of your lesson plan template. What that means is that when you open it, so I don't know, I'm being, not marking it as quickly maybe as you want it marked, and it's sitting in Google Classroom and I haven't marked it. And I don't know, let's say you need to use that file, that lesson plan template. What it's going to tell you is that you're no longer the owner of it and that you only have view abilities, right? So like, how we share anyone with the link can be a viewer. You're actually when you submit it to Google Classroom, you become a viewer of your own file until I actually mark it or grade it or return it to you, that kind of idea. So what can you do in the meantime? Let's say the lesson plan template submitted and Brad's, I don't know, being lazy and hasn't marked it yet, but you want to use it for a lesson plan in another class. Well, what you can do, and this goes with any assignment or any file, is you can make a copy of it, and then you'll have a brand new, fresh copy of it. Now, it won't be the marked one with, my comments or suggestions or whatever, but you will have another working copy of your own file. Okay, so just to remember that for yourself as a student, and not too distant future here in your life, you're to do the Google Classroom assignment. It's called Google Classroom as the teacher. So you'll see how that works when things, from the teacher side of things anyways. And if you think about, why does Google do that? Well, if you think about, let's use an essay. Pardon me. Let's use an essay as an example. And let's say you're going to hand me a paper essay, right? And so what happens when you hand me the paper essay? The same exact thing happens. I become owner of that essay until I give it back to you, and then you become the owner again, right? So that's kind of how that works. And so how that works in Google Classroom, though, is that you're submitting it digitally, right? If Google Classroom didn't give me ownership, that means you could submit an essay. I'm not going to look at it for, let's say, a week. Let's say you submitted on Monday, and I'm not going to look at it till probably Sunday sometime and mark it, right? Well, that means all week long, if Google didn't give me the ownership, that means all week long you could just keep typing on it, right? And you could keep working on it until at such a point that I've opened it up and see what kind of work you've done. So, anyways, long story short, when you submit things to Google Classroom, Brad, your teacher, becomes the owner of your file until you get it back. Okay. Any questions about that? Everybody's good. All righty then. Let's talk about digital citizenship. I'm going to put a link to a video, and I'm sure some of you have probably seen this video before. It's very cute. It's only a minute, 1 minute, 2 seconds. Okay. I'm not going to show it on my screen because on your end, when in Google Classroom, when you share a video, like I'm sharing what you can see on the screen right now, the video just plays horribly. So I'm going to put the video in the chat. And I'd like you to watch it. And like I said, it's only 1 minute and 2 seconds. So, but it's super cute. Even if you've seen it again, I've seen it many, many times. It's still very cute to watch. So watch that and I'll talk to you in a minute. And just let me know in the chat when you're done the video, please. Oh, everybody's done already? Perfect. I'll give everyone another 30 seconds just in case they got to it a little bit later. I'm going to talk about that in a second, Lisa. All right. I think everybody's had enough time. Okay. So as Lisa put in the chat there that she wanted a house hippo, I think there are many kids, and there are kids in my household that felt the same way, that I want one of those, right? So I think it's a very cute kind of little, commercial, whatever you want to call it, to just to show you the power of social media or the internet and how people can be fooled, right? And so part of being a good digital citizen is, us being able to sort of filter out the good stuff from the bad stuff, right? I am, and if you're not aware, I'll just put it in the chat. You don't have to watch it right now. You can watch it later on your own time. But there is a so that one, I can't remember what year that one's from, but there is a 2020 version of the House Hippo video if you want to watch that later on your own time. Okay, so thinking about, and if we just go back to the screen for 1 second, right? We talk about digital citizenship and what is it? I think all of us in our minds could say, give a definition of it, right? And we could also probably address the question of why is digital citizenship important, right? Now, I know that you're all adults and you've used technology probably for a very long time, maybe since you were a young child, right? But it, you read every day in the news, people scammed for millions of dollars, because they answered some email or some phone call or whatever it might be, and they got ripped off a whole bunch of money, right? We see that almost every single day in the news. And so it makes you wonder, like, what's going on? Like, how are these people so naive that they get ripped off? And I have to tell you, there's been a couple times, in my life where I've not lost money, but I've clicked on something and then was like, oh man, I should have checked, a little bit more deeply to find out what it's about. Because as soon as I've clicked, I'm like, oh no, it's like some scam, right? And there's people like, these scammers are so good at kind of fooling you to believe that somebody needs your password or some information, right? So it's important for us as adults, right? And let's put ourselves in the teacher's shoes for a minute, as teachers, to understand about digital citizenship, but also to teach our kids that we're, in front of us in our classrooms about being safe, right? Just like we, in the olden days, but I mean, we still continue to do this. We teach kids how to be safe on the streets, right? Look both ways before you cross the thing. Don't talk to strangers, all that kind of idea, right? Well, the same thing applies now, where kids spend hours and hours on, the information highway, not the, the highway that runs, where the cars drive, but they spend a lot of time in a different sort of environment where they are bombarded. And we all know this. We're bombarded by ads and by click this and click that, and clean your computer, click here, win $1 million, click to enter the contest, right? Every time you do that, they're either gathering information about you, or they're trying in some other nefarious way to rip you off, kind of idea, right? So why is digital citizenship important? Because we need to teach kids to be safe, right, on the internet. And like, who do you talk to, right? Don't talk to strangers. Well, any weirdo can be on the other end of a computer typing, pretending to be another 9-year-old or 12-year-old, or pick your age, doesn't matter, right? And so, and I'm sure we've all read in the news horrible stories about, some predator, some weirdo, luring a child and trying to have sex with them and things like that, right? So we've all heard about those stories. And again, just like you would say in your classroom with your kids sitting in front of you, don't talk to people on the playground that you don't know, or on the way home, all of that kind of stuff. We have to be that kind of, teach that safety piece to kids for being on the internet and using computers. And you'd think, right, you would think that parents were having these discussions with their kids and things like that, but often they're not. So that's why it gets sort of downloaded onto schools. It's the same thing about, having, in, grade 4, I think it starts, having the sex education types of classes, right? You'd think that all parents would be talking to their kids about sex and things like that, but they don't, right? And they leave that to the school, right? Many parents, of course, do, but there's lots that don't as well. So then it becomes a problem, not a problem, I guess I don't call it a problem for the school, because then teachers, then we have to teach, about sex education or about safety on the internet to kids, when you'd think parents should be doing that, right? Anyways, okay, so a little bit of notes. What the notes will end up in what the culminating sort of thing of our discussion around this is, you're going to actually do 2 Google courses. One is on digital citizenship, and it is a typical Google course where you have to watch and read and answer some questions. Okay. The nice thing about it, in the end, you get a really nice certificate for your e-portfolio. So, in on your resume or in your digital portfolio, under other, achievements or whatever, you could add this digital citizenship certificate. And then the second assignment is, and when you see it and you start it, you're going to go, oh, this is for kids, Brad. And yep, it is, right? It is. I do not deny that. It is mostly for kids. It is like a video game that you could get your own kids, in your classroom, or your own children, period, like your own personal children, to do. And what it does is it teaches kids about internet safety and how to be kind and safe and all kinds of different things. And in the end, also, you get a nice, really nice certificate for that. Okay. And then you could, again, add that to your digital citizenship. You could add that part to your e-portfolio. Why do we have to play a game, Brad, that actually takes quite a while to play? Well, same idea as I sort of say about everything that we do with kids. If I'm going to give them a worksheet, or I'm going to give them a video to watch, or I'm going to give them a video game to play, you need to do that yourself, so that you know the ins and outs of the game, that when kids come and say, I don't understand this, I can't figure it out, you've already done it, so you know the answer, so you can help them, right? You can't assign a stuff to kids that you haven't sort of done yourself, right? So with that said, that's the 2 assignments that you'll end up doing. And I've given you the due date. It's almost right. I think it's the last Thursday of October. So that gives you lots of time to do it. Okay. All right. So let's put some notes, or let's do a little bit of notes here on digital citizenship, or what a digital citizen is, right? Because again, we spend a lot of time with kids going, teaching them what a good person or what a good citizen does. But what about a good citizen or a good person, in this kind of an environment? Okay, so let's write these few notes down here. So we're going to go a digital citizen, and I'm going to write this down one time only, digital citizen. And then from evermore, we are going to refer to as DC. We'll refer to it generically as digital citizen or digital citizenship, okay? So a digital citizen is a person, okay, using, and you're going to see that I'm not going to use the word computer here, is using information technology, okay? Because it's not just about our laptop or our desktop computer. It could be about our tablet. It could be about our phone. It could be about your gaming system, right? That kind of stuff. So using information technology, and then I want to add the word in here appropriately, right? Because there's a difference, right? There's a good way to use it, and there is an inappropriate way to use it, right? Information technology appropriately in order to engage in society. And I want you to underline that, okay, because I'm going to come back and mention something about it. Engage in society, politics, and government. Okay, so when we underline that society piece, that is, if you look at schooling in general, that is the general goal of the school system, right? And remember, who controls the school system is government, right? So what does government want out of it, right? They've got a vested interest. They spend millions of dollars in education. So what do they want to get out of it? Well, what they want to get out of it is they want to get out people that are contributing members to society, that go out and vote for them, hopefully, right? And pay their taxes and abide by the laws, right? Really, ultimately, that's what the school system does, is we pump out taxpayers and voters, right? And hopefully good people that engaged, like I said, positively in society, right? So that's being a good citizen, right? I'm a good Canadian, I'm a good citizen of Canada. Well, it is no different online, right? And when we say engage appropriately, we have all been on social media where people have said things about other people, or said things in general about other people or other groups of people that are completely inappropriate, right? And I always say, like, when my wife and I, or my family and I, talk about that, would those people actually say that if that person was standing right in front of them, right? We seem to think that this screen somehow makes us invincible and we can just say or do anything that we want, and we know that's not true, because we've all read stories in the news as well of somebody that's engaged using information technology inappropriately that end up getting charged by the police or arrested or something like that, right? So again, just like we teach kids to be good citizens in the classroom, we need to teach them how to be good citizens online when they're doing their thing, whatever it is. And any of you that are out there that have ever played online games, like with teams, or one team against other teams, the people that engage in those games online, and they have their avatar, and they look like some soldier or some whatever creature. Again, people think sometimes that gives them some kind of distance or permission to be a jerk, or to be just, pardon my language, just being an ass online, right? So if you've ever played online games, I think you probably know what I mean. There are people on there that are not very nice people. So when I play online games, I don't engage in team play unless I know the people, right? So, and maybe some of you feel the same way as well. So anyways, so going back to that digital citizenship piece, other than the appropriately word, which I've added in myself, that's actually like a definition from Wikipedia. And so I think it's appropriate, right? I think it's a good way to think about it and to look at it. Okay, so as we're all very aware, with technology, information technology not being any different, it's continually evolving and changing. And today there's TikTok, next year, in the new year, there might be something completely different, and TikTok goes by the wayside, or it doesn't get used very much anymore, right? So that happens all the time. So as we go here in our notes, let's just put digital citizenship is the continuously developing, and this is an important word, norms, right? Just like in our classrooms with our kids face to face, there are norms, right? There are rules, right? That we have. But we know that with technology, the norms, or what's appropriate or inappropriate, is always changing, right? So digital citizenship is a continuously developing norms of appropriate, comma, responsible, comma, and empowered technology use, right? And I like the word empowered in that statement, that, because once we give kids the tools to be safe out in the community or to be safe online, it does give a person sort of a feeling of empowerment. I'm in charge, right? I got this, right? I know how to be safe. I don't talk to strangers. I look both ways before I cross the street, all of that kind of stuff. And I've got this. So, mom and dad, the kids, at some point, kids are like, don't hold my hand anymore. I can cross the street by myself. Well, the same thing goes again on the information highway, right? Is I got this, mom and dad. I know I don't talk to strangers. I know I don't give personal information out, all of that kind of stuff. So we know that there's these, and those norms are always changing. There's different norms and different things that are appropriate or inappropriate, right? That we have, and that goes in our classrooms, right? I mean, you think about in schools, and I don't know what it was like in your schools, but the continual fight with kids to take their hats off when they come into the school, or there's no hats allowed, right? I mean, back in, I don't know, I don't even know what, maybe 1990, let's say, what if a societal norm was that you take your hat off when you enter a building or someone else's residence or something like that, because it was a sign of respect or whatever, right? Now, everybody's wearing hats. Everybody wears, ball cap or a toque or whatever. And inside or outside, it's just sort of a norm now, right? Nobody really cares if you take your hat off, right? I mean, there's some religious things around where that, but I mean, in general speaking, I don't know about you, but in a school environment, really, is that the fight you want to have with somebody first thing in the morning, is take your hat off? Like, I always thought that was a stupid one, but it is what it is, right? So, and I think now more than ever, I know even like in my wife's classroom in her school, if they want to wear hats, let them wear hats. Like, what's the big deal, right? So again, talk about norms, right? Kind of idea. All right, a little bit more. So when we talk about these norms and these skills and things that we're talking about, so we're going to say these are skills, right? Because they are skills. These are skills and knowledge. And I'm going to say, and attitudes. And then I'm going to say something about that. Attitudes. As you have worked on your lesson plans, one of the things that you might have noticed in the curriculum, I'm just going to make a new page here. You don't have to you write this down. It's kind of just like a little aside, that you'll notice that curriculum is divided into KSAs. And you'll hear people talk about that in schools, right? The KSAs, right? Knowledge, skills, attitudes, right? So the same idea occurs when, we're talking here about digital citizenship. There is knowledge that kids need to know. There's like things that they need to know. There is skills that they have to have. And there has to be certain attitudes about how they conduct themselves online and that kind of stuff. So there are knowledge, skills, and attitudes that students need, to navigate the world today, to navigate the world today. Okay, period. There's a little bit more there. I'm just going to go to a new page here in a sec. So, and because of that, then, if I just add a new page here, there we go. Today, so this is all kind of same, just continue writing after the word today. We must teach these skills, or let's say these KSAs. Let's use that KSAs. Okay, to guide students where am I here? To guide students to experience situations where they apply this knowledge, where they apply I'm going to say these KSAs. Okay, right? And of course, we can teach them the skills, we can give them the knowledge, we can, work on the attitude part. But of course, this is all great until they encounter it like face-to-face kind of idea. But that's when those KSAs kick in. It's like, oh, there's some weirdo talking to me from, his car and saying, come over here and look at my puppy. And we know that, we've taught kids you don't talk to strangers. So that's when that knowledge of those KSAs kick in. And the same thing goes when they're online, right? If there's somebody asking for their personal information or, something crazy like that, kids know to either block that person or, get out of that situation in some way. Okay. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to just, we're going to make a little list here so there's sort of 9 elements that I want to talk about. And these are like 9 elements of good digital citizenship. So I'm just going to make a new page myself here, and I'm going to put that title in here. So 9 elements of good digital citizenship. Okay. And we can literally number them then. And these are in no particular order, but they're ones that, or these are 9 things. I mean, if you were to search on, your search engine, go 9 elements of good, or what are the elements of being a good digital citizen, you're going to find a wide array of things. But I also think you're going to find a lot of sort of similarities as well. So I've chosen this list because I think it kind of covers all the bases that we need to cover. And if there's anything after the 9 things that you can think of, we could add them to the list. Okay. So the first one is digital access. Right? We need to create user IDs and passwords and all that kind of stuff to access stuff that we want to access on the internet. Right? So this is, we'll put another thing here, full electronic participation. Right? If you want to be on TikTok, you want to be on Instagram, Facebook, pick your social media platform, there's stuff that you have to do and things that you sort of have to give up in order to participate in those environments, right? So when we talk about digital access, what we're talking about is access to digital tools. So access to digital tools such as, right, laptops, right, or computers in general, right? Laptops, cameras. Now, most of us don't walk around with a digital camera anymore, but almost all of us walk around with one of these types of cameras, right? So cameras and internet, right? In whatever whatever device that you're using to access information and stuff on the internet, right? So that's one of the things. So when we talk about digital access, we have these tools, and whether it's your laptop that you've got passworded, hopefully you do, or your phone, with your camera, that's passworded as well, right? Or any other internet service or thing that you access on the internet, there's all passwords. And of course, I am sure some of you are guilty of using the same password for many different places. And of course, you all know that's a no-no, but we still do it, right? Because it's like, I don't want to remember a million jillion passwords, right? But that's why there are apps out there that are password protected and encrypted that you can put in your passwords and you don't have to actually remember them, right? So I would just, again, caution you not to use the same password on everything. Okay. All right. And then one of the other parts of this digital access piece is that is the recognition or recognizing your individual needs, right? Because all, what we do with our technology is different, and our needs from person to person are different. Our needs and barriers, right? And that barrier might be something that you don't know, that kind of stuff. And our barriers to participation, including special needs, okay? Including special needs, okay? So I want you to think about that from a teacher point of view for a second. If you had a student in your classroom that had some, let's say, physical challenge or disability, how would you, and you want your kids to use, let's say, Chromebooks in the classroom, how do you address that? Right? So what is it out there that you can access or get a hold of that can help those kids that have special needs, or people that anybody in general, right? How do blind people navigate the internet? And if you're not aware, there's actually a way that they do that, right? How do you kids that have gross or even fine motor skill problems, how do you get them to keyboard properly, right? Those kinds of things. So we all have our things, right? And so, but part of being a good digital citizen is recognizing those needs or those barriers that either you have or that the kids that you teach have, and then how do we address that? Even something as simple as color blindness, right? How do you address that on a computer screen? That kind of stuff. Okay, that's number one. Let's make a new page. Number two is digital commerce, right? Oh boy, here we go, right? Digital commerce. I tell you, this is, as far as, digital things go, this is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. I just love going on my phone and going, oh, hey, Superstore, I want that, and that. Thank you very much. Here you go. And I'll just drive up and pick it up later. That is my favorite thing right now, is I don't have to go grocery shopping. Is that someone else will do it for me, and boom, I'm done. Just pay and drive up. I don't have to get out of I don't know if you've ever done this before, but you don't even have to get out of your car, and they'll just load it up for you. You can just sit in your car. I always feel guilty, and I do get out and help load the groceries. But yeah, like, this is the greatest thing, I think, right now that's out there. Okay. And so when we talk about digital commerce, we talk about online, right? Buying and selling of goods, right? Buying and selling, the online buying and selling of goods, right? And whether that is, like I said, Amazon, whether that's Superstore or Kijiji, or some buy and sell thing on Facebook, we all look for stuff online to buy, and some of you maybe sell stuff as well, right? I know I've certainly done both, and like I said, it's pretty darn convenient, right? So we talk about digital commerce. So of course, then what we can sort of, I guess let's be like subpoint A, I guess, or whatever, is that this involves the purchasing and selling items. I'm just going to say online. Okay, I'll just abbreviate my own notes here, right? And the thing here that, with kids, that would be if I were dealing with K-12 kids, especially younger kids, but and I were talking about this with them. One of the things, and of course, we've all seen probably this in the news as well, is 9-year-old racks up $10,000 worth of gaming, things that they bought on the online store for their, whatever video game they've played, and they racked up a big bill on their parents' credit card. That kind of idea. If you haven't seen those, that happens often, more often than you think, right? So even talking to kids about, you know what, you don't use your mommy and daddy's credit card unless they give you permission, to do that kind of stuff, right? So we have to be careful again, just with that kind of stuff, and that's the same with us, right? I don't know how many of you have PayPal accounts, but my PayPal account is directly linked to my bank account. My password for PayPal is 18 characters long. That's the only one that I have that is this very complicated, long password, because like I said, it has direct access to my bank account. And then, of course, on top of that, I have two-factor or two-step verification. So even if someone figured out that big, long password, they would still have to get the code on their phone and all that jazz. So again, we have to be really careful, right? I'm sure that many of us have heard stories of people getting their credit cards numbers stolen and getting their card racked up by some people that are doing nefarious things, right? So we talk about purchasing, selling items online, right? The other thing that we have to think about and talk about is digital coupons. To be very, very careful, right? Thought my pen died here. Just like digital coupons, right? So here's a really good rule for life. There are no free lunches. If someone's giving you something for free, they want something back, right? And when we talk about digital coupons, somebody out there tell me, if they're giving you something for free, what do they want back from you? Somebody put it in the chat or say it out loud. And Lisa, let me read what you got here. Right. Yep, you're exactly right. So you're right, Lisa. One of the scariest things about it is that once you're out there, or once something is out on the internet, and the ether about you, or that you put it out there, you cannot get it back, right? It is like throwing I don't know, a stone into a lake. It's gone, right? You have no control anymore about that information, right? Right, shutting down the school for a week, it would have gone that far. Yeah, so I mean, very, very interesting stuff. I will fight the fight because information, money. Yes. All right. So you're right. No free lunches, and if they're giving you something for free, they want something back, and usually that's your information, right? Because there's a lot of money made in this world, billions of dollars, about selling information about you. Right. And where you go on the internet, what you like to buy, all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, I don't know about you. Have you ever gone to Amazon, and then the next thing you know, every ad on every website that you go to is about that jacket you looked at or something like that. That right now is happening to me. On every bloody website I go to, this stupid jacket thing comes up. So anyhow, we know that, right? So you got to remember that yourself, but you also remember that with your kids, is that if you think you're getting a free app, yep, you are. You're getting a free app. You didn't pay any money for it. But the cost of that app is that they're taking your information, right? And they're selling that information for a lot of money. Okay. All right. And then, so when we talk about this digital commerce, digital coupons is another thing, but I guess number C here, letter C is, downloading I'll just say apps, right? And so all of you that have got apps out there that are free, that you have not paid for on your phones or whatever devices, you just got to know that in some way you're paying for that, right? And like I said, whether it's your information or, the big thing now is in-app purchases, right? It's like, oh, you need 150 more gold coins to play the game, right? It's like I said, there's no free lunches. So, downloading of apps. So again, same idea. We got to be careful, and we got to teach kids to be careful about what apps they put on their phone, because there's lots of apps out there that are completely free. And you can use them. They don't really even want no in-app purchases, but the entire time they are following everything that you do and tracking everything that you do on your phone or whatever device it is. So again, we need to be super duper careful. Okay, number 3. is digital communication, right? So then here we got to talk to our kids, and we need to be aware ourselves about communication on the internet. And when we talk about digital communication, what we're talking about is like the electronic exchange of information, right? And again, like Lisa said in the chat, is once you hit that enter button or press send or whatever it is, that's it. You cannot control that anymore. It is gonzo, right? And we all know that, right? To the point now where there are actual laws in Canada, right? I mean, you've either have heard of it, or maybe you know somebody who's been a victim of like revenge porn, right? And so, I mean, this is a thing now that has been written into law in Canada. And so, if you break up with somebody and, you've got naughty pictures of them, and you post those online to get back at them for breaking up with you or whatever, you can go to jail. Right. And there's actually been some recent cases that I'm aware of that the people that have done that have gotten into a lot of trouble and now have a criminal record, right? And been, all that kind of stuff. So we have to know that you are protected. I mean, once it's out there, again, it's out there. But there are ways to address that inappropriate behavior of people now, right? And again, because people are doing it, the Canadian government said, well, man, we can make a law about this because it's out of control kind of idea, right? So when we talk about digital communications or the electronic exchange of information, right, we're talking about, email, right? We're talking about things like if any of you are bloggers or use blogs, blogs, any social networking thing, social networking, right? Instant messaging. I'm going to really abbreviate that. Okay. Or texting and things like that, right? So we know there's lots of ways that we can give out our information, and that can be text-based, it can be video-based, it could be audio-based, any electronic way, right? So when we talk about that, we've got to think about that there's lots of different things, right? So, I mean, and again, we got to be really aware of what we're doing, because like I said, once you hit that return or enter button, you've kind of lost control of the situation, okay? All right, so B, or the next one down, is managing, I guess that should be a capital M, but that's okay, managing your online identity. Ooh, can I squeeze it in there? Identity. There we go. There we go. Or what some people refer to this as your digital footprint. Or maybe it would be more appropriate to call it your digital fingerprint, because nowadays we can just use our finger to access information, right? Or access a device, right? So anyways, I am sure that someone along the way has harped at you about this, because all of you young people out there seem to be really willing and able to share everything about your lives online on Facebook, or like I said, pick your social media platform. And again, I say that because I still have 2 people in my house that post everything about their lives online, even though they know that they shouldn't. I don't know why people feel compelled to do that, but they do. Like, really? Does anybody really care what you're having for supper? Click, and there's what I'm eating for supper. I don't know, right? So obviously there's connotations for this for kids, right? For us as teachers and talking to kids about this. But there's also connotations for you as the teacher. I don't know, I've said it lots of times, this term, I can't remember if I've said it to you folks, but we have to be careful as teachers about what we put online, right? And I've said that, if you're going to use social media to share with parents about what's going on in your classroom and stuff, you need to have separate accounts. You've got your personal Instagram. I'll just use Instagram as an example. You have your personal Instagram account, and then you have your teacher Instagram account, and never the two shall meet, right? Whatever you're doing on your personal one, and whatever pictures and stuff like that you're posting on social media about your personal life, that should never enter your teacher's life, Okay. So if you're going to do that, and I encourage you to do that, is take pictures and share them with parents. That first of all, that you have permission to do that from the parents, and make sure you have all the FOIP forms and all those kinds of goodies filled out, and then do. Right? Because, man, again, remember, we talked about Bloom's taxonomy at the top, right? The new thing on the top of Bloom's taxonomy is sharing, right? But again, we just need to share appropriately and with permission, those kinds of things. Okay. So, and for you, I can tell you right now, knowing what I know about hiring teachers and hiring people in an educational situation, that the people doing the hiring are checking out your social media profiles. And I can tell you that I know in I won't say what situations, but in certain hiring situations, people have not been hired because of what's been on their social media or on their LinkedIn accounts or whatever other thing that's, when I search your name, Brad McDermott, enter what comes up. Okay, so you need to be very careful. I'm not going to harp at you any more than this, but you need to be very careful what you're posting online, because if a parent gets a hold of that, or a school board member or your principal, it could cost you your job. So, or either you get fired from a job or not get the job that you're applying for. So you just need to be very careful. And if you don't think that that's happening nowadays, you're only fooling yourself, because everything about you is still available online. And even no matter how tightly you think you have things locked down, there's always a way to get to stuff. And also, once it's, again, even if you and I are friends and we're on Facebook, and I'm the only other person in the whole wide world that can see your Facebook account, and I can see all the pictures you're posting, but then there's one picture there that I decide to, whatever, copy and repost somewhere, you have no control over that, right? So you got to be very, very careful. What do we got here? Mm, no, Jessica, I don't have any apps particularly for that you want to share stuff with. I mean, obviously, Remind is a good one because it's a closed environment, right? And but you could use any social media. Like, for example, my wife uses Instagram, but she locks it down to only the parents in her classroom that can see that stuff, so that it's not really being shared out, worldwide with whoever. Right, but it's only shared with people that she sort of lets into that inner circle. So that's the only thing that I would recommend. No matter what social media platform you're using, don't make it public for the whole wide world to see. Narrow it down at least to either the school or the parents of your kids in your classroom or something like that, because there are parents out there that are concerned about pictures of their kids being posted online, right? So and of course, you also have to be aware of, when you send out those information and those permission slips out, that I'm going to take pictures of my classroom. Is it okay if your child is in these pictures? There will be lots of parents that will say, no, please don't put my child's picture out there. And there's a wide array of reasons. Often it is that there is somebody in that child's life that the mom or the dad or the guardian doesn't want that other person to see, right? So, or be able to find them, right? I've had that in my own K-12 teaching, where a mom and the kids are on the run from the dad, and they don't want to be found. And so we don't want to post pictures of kids online where they could be found, and then who knows what, something horrible could happen, right? So we just need to be careful. I'm encouraging you to share, but I'm also encouraging you to be careful about your sharing. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. Thanks, Ricky. Yeah, Seesaw is a good one. There, some school districts prior to last year, this year, were using another one called Fresh Grade, where they could post stuff, kids' work and stuff. But Fresh Grade now has been bought out by another company. It's not available publicly to teachers anymore. But Seesaw is a great one as well. So there are some out there, but you know what? You'll find that out also when you get out into the school districts and you find out what other people are using. I hesitate to mention any one app over another, other than, like I said, just being careful and trying to keep it a little bit as locked down as you possibly can. Yeah. So Fresh Grades has been bought out. Fresh Grade is a wonderful app to share kids' progress in school, but they got bought out by the Montessori school, I don't know, society or whatever group. And so the Montessori people want to use it only for Montessori schools. So they're not making it available now like I said, generally to the public, which is too bad. But you know what? It's like a void, right? Fresh Grade leaves, and Seesaw and 5 other companies come in to fill that hole. So there'll be other great apps that you can use when you get out, and like when you get out in the classroom. And like from today, when we're talking about it as a first or second year or whatever year you are in your program, by the time you graduate, there'll be all kinds of new stuff out there to use as well. So what we talk about today, we're talking about Seesaw. It may not even exist in 2 years, right? Or 3 years. So, but there are good things out there. What else do we got here? Good. Yeah. Okay, perfect. All right. Where am I? See, okay. So under this whole digital communication thing, one of the other things is that we have to do is we have to understand privacy and public settings, right? Public settings. And I'm just going to say and situations, right? So again, just talking about locking down your accounts or what you want to be the world to be able to see, and what you just want your inner circle to be able to see, whoever that is, whether that's parents or your friends or family, whoever. We want to make sure that we understand, when we click that button, and it's a user agreement, from Apple or Google or whatever app it is. When you click accept, you should understand what you're accepting and what you're, again, literally, what are you giving away, right? So it's access to something, right? Again, because like I said, like I keep saying, there are no free lunches out there. So what again is private, what is public, and you need to be aware of that, right? All right, one more letter D, but I gotta unfortunately go on to a new page here for it. So let's see. Come on, D. Oh, that is the worst D in the planet. There we go. Let's try that again. D. That's still not a very good one. Come on, my pen. There we go. D. There we go. Okay. And then as far as digital communications go, we need to understand the impacts of online. Oopsie. Come on. There you go. Of online relationships compared to face-to-face relationships, right? And I'll share a story that I heard a lady in Starbucks on her phone talking very loudly to her friends or her friend, saying, "I have 3,000 friends on Facebook." How many of you have 3,000 friends face to face? I don't think I even know 3,000 people. Anyhow, so I just think that, the impact of online relationship versus face to face, right? I have 3,000 friends on Facebook. You know what? You probably have 3,000 followers or 3,000 people that check stuff that you post out, but are they really truly friends? And so again, if we put that in the context of kids, I have 3,000 friends on whatever platform kids are using. Do you really? And do you know all of them? And are they all actually 9 years old, or they're 55-year-old weirdos out there that are trying to lure you into some horrible situation, right? So again, understanding that. And then again, I go back to understanding that, would you say that to a certain person face to face standing on the playground versus, typing it in, in some social media platform, right? So again, just all of us understanding that there are consequences to our actions, right? Okay, next one down. Number 4 is digital literacy. Now, what I'm going to just say here when we talk about digital literacy, often digital literacy is confused or talked about synonymously with digital citizenship. And in a way, they are kind of the same. But if we were just to talk about, in general, literacy, if you had said, how do you, when we talk about literacy and numeracy, those are the big words now in teaching and learning, right? Is that we have to focus on literacy, right? We think about reading and writing and the skills that go with being a literate person. Well, it's the same idea when we talk about digital literacy, that there are skills that we need to know to just navigate our lives in this digital environment, which is no different than it would be the literacy skills that we need to know in our paper-based world, right? Okay. So if we talk about digital literacy, then maybe we could say that it is the process of teaching and learning. So important for us, teaching and learning about technology and the use of technology. Okay, so if we put it in a bit of a different context, this is about skills, right? It would just be like in language arts class, your literacy skills, right? Can you write a sentence? Can you write cursively? Do you print? Like how, you know, those kinds of things, right? Skills in effectively, and some people are really awesome at this, effectively finding and evaluating internet resources, right? And this is the big thing, right? And of course, Donald Trump made this, you know, this term popular, you know, fake news, right? It's all fake, right? And so, I mean, just like we would go down to the library and ask kids to find a good book about giraffes, and you know, find a book that they want to use for their report, it's no different than when they're online. Is they need to find a good resource, but they also need to have the skill to evaluate that resource and know whether it's credible and all that other kind of stuff, right? So and like I said, some of us are much better at finding stuff on the internet or finding stuff out about whatever it is that you want to find out about. But it's also a skill that we need to teach kids. Just like we teach them to go down to the library and how to find a book and all that jazz, we need to teach them how to do that online, right? So that, you know, there's a lot of similarities between the two things that we're doing here. All right, let me just erase that. I think that's the tool to erase. Nope, that's a tool to duplicate. How do we do that again? Where's my eraser tool? Hold on, guys. Sorry. Well, that's pretty fantastic. It's going to take me 5 hours to do it that way. All right, we'll just do it this way. There we go. All right, we'll just skip it. All right, so we talked about skills for effectively finding information and stuff like that on the web. We'll go to letter B here, just continue on, is then also using tools, right? Tools to help manage and filter media from the internet. Internet, including, you know, bookmarks, privacy settings, and of course, our favorite, spam, right? Okay, so with that said, you know, there are some skills that we all should know. And one of the skills that we should know is that when we search something on the web, we often get things that we don't want, right? So like if I were to type in, you know, just even, you know, lesson plan templates, okay, and I just search that, you know, you can see that there's 35, almost 36 million hits, right? Now, if you don't, here, I'm asking you this question, please tell me if you know the answer. If you are saying, okay, I want to find lesson plan templates, but I don't want, and this is one that I do all the time, I don't want anything from Pinterest. is there a way that I can, in my search bar up here, is there a way I can exclude the Pinterest stuff on the web? Nope, nobody knows. Okay, that's okay. So when we type up here, if you've ever heard the term or the phrase before, called Boolean searches, what we're talking about is adding different characters in your search parameters that will either add or take away from what you're looking for. So if I wanted to do that, I could just go minus Pinterest. And what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to not then show me any, and I'm just going to look through my my search here. There should not be any in here that say Pinterest, and at least on this screen there isn't. So so that's just one thing that you can do, and you can do that with any search things. You could also use and. There's lots of other ones when it's not a lesson on Boolean searching, but if you want, you can just Google it and find out the different sort of characters that you can use to add things or take things away. Also, one of the other ones, I'll just show you another one, is that if you, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do know this, if you put it in quotation marks, it will only search for that term, right? So you know that sometimes when we put in lesson plan templates, what you don't see here, I'll show you what you don't see, is you don't see, whoopsie, wrong, you don't, darn it, Brad, there we go. And you don't see that actually it's lessons and plans and templates. So if you don't have the quotation marks around it, you could get hits or search, you know, things coming back to you on the word lesson, on the word plan, and on the word templates. So again, this is this Boolean thing that I'm talking about. So I mean, it's, our web browsers have become very clever and they do that for us now. But there's two little tips and tricks. One is add the minus sign, and one, if you want to just keep that term only, if you add the quotation marks around it, you don't get all the different things that go with that. Okay, so when we talk about, you know, filtering media, that's an important one, right? I'm just going to do one other search here. And I just want to find a site. Actually, I want to find a site that is, I want to find a site that's got ads. Maybe this one. No, darn it. Wait here in a second here. Let's say German Shepherd. That might help. Let's see. Oh, this might be good. Yeah, it's still not exactly what I want. Okay, let me just see. I'll try one more place here. Maybe here. Let's see. No, not quite. But I'm going to show you a little extension that you can add. You know that sometimes when we go to websites, there's along these edges, you know, the right and left edge, there's all kinds of ads and all kinds of gobbledygook, right? And it's super duper distracting, right? And think about a child in your class who's got attention problems, right? We have all done this. We've all had good intentions to look up German Shepherd puppies, and before you know it, you're buying something on Amazon or on eBay, or you've gone down this rabbit hole, and what you intended to do, and you didn't accomplish because you got distracted, right? There is this little extension that I use, and you know what? Here, let me just go here. I want to do one more. I really want to show you how this works. I'm just going to go with CBC News. Maybe that'll be a good one to do. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So, you know, this kind of idea. There's this ad or this extension up here. This is perfect, actually. Is in this extension, what it does when you click it, it takes all that gobbledygook out that was on the side. Now, if this is something you wanted kids to read, you can see that all that distracting stuff is gone. And then the other cool thing about it is if you don't want this picture, you just click on it and you can delete whatever parts of the website that you don't want. Okay. Now that extension is called Print Friendly and PDF. And I use it often what I actually use it the most for is if I come here and there's a great article, and you know what, here, I know this is one that I always do this on. Let's go, pork, I don't know why I'm pork chop, recipes, right? If you go to a recipe website or a recipe blog, you get all this nasty stuff, and there's stuff that you don't want. When I use that extension, so this page is still loading, I can get rid of all of that. I can get rid of all the pictures that I don't want, right? And so let's see if it's going to work, right? So like my latest videos, I don't want that part, and I don't want that part, and that part. And so you can see what I can do. Do I want this huge picture? So again, it's very handy that way. I know that you can go to print recipes, but not all websites has that, right? So anyways, I'll put that. It is called Print Friendly. Actually, we'll just do this here. Let's go to the Chrome Web Store. I'll just give you the link. Right there. There we go. I will give you the link. If that is an interesting thing to you, it is super useful. It really does help a lot. And then you don't have all those ads and all that other jazz in there. So anyways, it's called Print Friendly and PDF. So and like I said, it's very, 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 very user friendly, and it's a really helpful extension that you can add to the Chrome browser. Yeah, if you're using Firefox or you're using Safari, that link doesn't work for you. Although there might be an extension in Safari or Firefox that's the same. I just don't use those browsers. So, anyways, using tools that help manage and filter media. So that's kind of where we're headed on that one, right? And then the last one here on this is C. Is making connections between digital tools my pen is dead. Tools to enhance learning, right? So teaching to enhance learning. Teaching kids what tools to use to get the job done, right? And that's no different whether it's face-to-face or it's on the playground or it's on the internet, right? What are the tools that I need to be successful, whatever I'm doing, right? And so that's what we're getting at here with that, making those connections with digital tools, right? Because just like every other thing, there are, think of a carpenter or somebody who uses tools. They use a specific tool to do a specific job, right? They don't use a hammer to saw a board, right? And so the same idea that goes on, right? We don't use a Jiffy marker to write an essay, right? We can use a pen or a pencil or a keyboard, right? But we don't, use a big, felt marker to write ourselves, an essay, that kind of idea. Okay, number 5. Number 5 is, how are we doing here? Oh, gosh. Okay, digital etiquette, right? So there is face-to-face etiquette, digital etiquette. And this is just, that was horrible, etiquette. Oh my goodness, Brad. There we go. And this is just ways of conducting oneself in a digital environment. Right? It's kind of like duh, right? I mean, we're all adults here, and we all I think we all have this figured out. The way that you act with your friends is different than the way you act with your boss. The way that you act with, if you're a religious, with your, parish priest, with, I don't know, a politician. You pick whoever, you pick anybody, or your doctor, right? The way that you act in different situations is all about etiquette, right? So the way that you conduct yourself in those environments should be really no different in a digital environment, right? The way you would talk to a friend using FaceTime would be different than you would be talking to your doctor using FaceTime, that kind of idea, right? So so we have to, again, teach kids that there are ways, appropriate ways to act when we're in different environments. Okay, so when we talk about so then here we're going to talk about using technology to reflect best qualities, right? So we harp about don't put these pictures online or whatever, but you want to put pictures online, but ones that show you in a positive light, right? So that when somebody does search your name, they're like, oh, Brian McDermott, there's some good stuff about him, and not just, I don't know, crazy things, right? Using tech to reflect the best qualities and codes of conduct, right? And when we talk about codes of conduct, of course, we also have to think about our Alberta Teachers Association Code of Conduct and how you're supposed to act 24/7, right? So there are codes of conduct that we have to follow as citizens, but as teachers that make or that guide us on how to act appropriately in different environments. Okay, and then part of digital etiquette is also using technology when appropriate. Okay, because there are times when it's not appropriate to use technology, and I don't mean that like when we're searching information for a report or something like that. I'm talking that sitting, well, of course, this is a dull one again, sitting in a job interview, but in the job interview, you're looking, checking your messages to see who's messaging you, right? Obviously that would not be using technology when appropriate, right? And then the other one here is we've talked about our privacy rights and stuff like that, but also part of it is respecting others, right? Respecting privacy and rights of others. Rights of others, right? Just like you want to be protected, we shouldn't be, trying to access other people's information and stuff like that. Okay, all right. Let's do number 6, 7, 8, and holy smokes, we're not going to get it all done, I don't think, but we'll give it a try here. 6 is digital law. Okay, how are we doing for time? I've got a little bit of time yet. Digital law. Let me just scroll down a little bit here in my notes. There we go. Right. And digital law is all about the responsibility for actions and deeds. It's a word we don't use very often. Deeds using technology, using tech, right? So, just like you wouldn't walk into a bank with a gun and say, give me all your money, you don't try and hack a bank and, steal money from the bank, right? I mean, so there are laws that govern what we can do online and what we can do face to face, right? So it's really no different. And of course, again, we've all read in the news where there's, hacker gets caught. Actually, I've just read this morning, this guy that was during COVID was doing ransomware, like a lot, encrypting hospitals and places like that, their information, and then asking for loads and loads of money to get their information back. That guy just got 20 years in jail. So that kind of idea is what we're talking about here, right? But if we talk about in an academic environment, right, we are talking about plagiarism, right? So again, talking about that, there are deeds and actions and things around. You don't just go copy and paste and put that into your essay, right? So we know about plagiarism. We know about that, right? We also know then also about copyright, right? Is that, of course, we see this lots when we talk about online music and online movies and things like that, about copyright, right? Is that somebody has spent a lot of money to create that book or to create that video or whatever it is, and that it's copyrighted, and that we need, or that image or picture, we need to be mindful of that. Okay, and so under C, of course, I'm just going to put on in big letters here, no intentional. And again, hopefully for us, the people that I'm talking to right now, this doesn't apply, but again, we got to talk to our kids about this, right? No intentional, malicious, right? There's a word you don't use or write down very often. Malicious acts, including hacking, virus development, and or identity theft, right? Identity theft. And of course, I am thinking that for us, as a group that I'm talking to right now, is that we're not doing that kind of stuff, right? And when we click those user agreements and we say, okay, yeah, I agree. Often in those agreements, it talks about these exact things. It talks about that you're using Facebook, you're not going to do anything bad using Facebook. Or even when you get like a Shaw Internet account, part of that is that you're not going to use that for any criminal activity, right? Or any activity that's deemed inappropriate. And if the sort of, let's say not criminal activity, but if it's something that's deemed inappropriate by the service provider, they can cut your service off, that kind of thing, right? So that's what we're getting at. Even to get on the network at Red Deer Polytechnic, you click the user agreement when you first logged on, and in that user agreement, you probably didn't read it, but maybe you did. It does say, it actually almost says exactly what I just wrote down, that you're not going to try and hack the network and access grades, or you're not going to intentionally put a virus into the network and things like that. And again, a lot of us are going, yeah, I would never do that, Brad. But obviously, you're clicking agree because people have tried that kind of stuff before, right? All right, and then D is bullying, right? And this one kind of stymies me a little bit, because I know, I get the bullying on the playground or after school, or the face-to-face kind of bullying. That one is super duper hard as a teacher to catch the culprits that are the bullies, right? What makes me, I don't know, my questioning is when you're online bullying somebody, there's a paper trail, right? There's like, I put in Facebook a bad message about you. How can we not catch these bullies? And often we do now because of that, but it is really still very hard to catch bullies. And so bullying is one of those things that I just have no latitude or no tolerance for, and it's just unacceptable to me. So with online bullying, I just don't get how we don't just sort of put the hammer down on these people that are actually doing that kind of stuff. So, all right, we've got still have three more things. We got actually a few more things to do here. So we're going to have to leave it off there. I'm not going to continue on beyond. We're just about out of time anyways. So let's leave it off at digital security, which is number 7. And we will have to pick it up when we come back after the break, because this is the last time I see you before all your tummies are full of turkey. So what I would like you to do, though, in the meantime, is I'd like you to go into Google Classroom, and under week number 5, there is a digital citizenship course there. And there is also an Internet Awesome game. The course will take you about 30 minutes to do, because some of it's just like like it's common sense stuff. The game is a little bit more complicated. There's 2 things I just caution you about on this. One is that you should have a really good internet connection, okay? And when I say good internet connection, that does not necessarily mean at Red Deer Polytechnic. And then the other thing is this game is one that you have to start and finish all kind of in one sitting. There's no like save button. Okay. So, just so know that when you start the game, you kind of commit yourself to, well, if you want to play the game and do absolutely everything you can do, it might take you about 3 hours. If you want to just kind of get through the game, get the certificate, just do what I have to do, the basics, probably take you about an hour, maybe not even quite that long. It's all just a keyboard-based thing on your laptop, so you don't need a joystick or paddle or anything like that. You just need a keyboard. Okay. Other than that, thoughts, questions, comments, what's on your mind before I say have a great Thanksgiving? Nothing? That's it? Okay. Well, If you want to stick around, or you got anything you want to chat with me about, stick around. If you don't, head on out. And like I said, enjoy, have a safe and fun Thanksgiving. And we'll see you back on the 18th of October. Okay. Thanks, everybody.